We're the K3. I'm Jen.
I'm Karen.
I'm Marisa.
And this is our supporter-sponsored podcast. I got it right. Excellent. Of Come and Hug Me for First Loves. I'm so excited.
Awesome. If you are listening to this podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. Do you know we also have a YouTube channel? So head on over there and subscribe. If you listen there, you can also see lots of pretty pictures. And besides that, we have other fun things to share with you.
We have our weekly watch list, which is all the dramas we're watching in a week. Oh my goodness.
So many right now.
So many. We also have our Wednesday news shot, a little gossip, a little news, and our thoughts about it. And on Fridays...
sometimes a podcast, sometimes, ladies, some astrology.
Yes.
Which I love so much, in case you haven't figured that out.
It's fascinating.
That's so fun. I love it. But we are here today to discuss First Loves, which was the theme of March, and we are, you guys go, God, it's April already.
It is April already.
Oh my God, okay, yeah. And you guys chose it, and we went with Come and Hug Me, which, as if you've listened to us even once, you know that this is probably one of my all-time favorite K-dramas. So to be able to talk about it at length brings me a tremendous amount of joy. So I've rewatched it at least once. This is your first time watching it, right, Karen?
I binged to finish it before today.
And?
So, really, really, really good show.
Yeah?
Really good show. I remember you both talking about it and raving about it, and it was good to watch on a binge. And the reason why is because I didn't have to wait when there was like lots of tension and scary moments. I was like, let's just jump to the next one, get a little relief, hopefully.
They did do some amazing cliffhangers.
Yeah.
They were really good.
Yes.
And what about you on the rewatch? Did you?
On the rewatch, if you're a K-drama addict like we are, then, you just keep moving on to the next show. Mm-hmm. And to go back and watch it, it's like I had forgotten so much, but I was surprised how much I had forgotten. Like, I had left with a feeling that this is one of my favorite shows, that they were both such incredible characters, and the way the story resolved was fantastic. But I forgot so many storylines, and what I really forgot was the pacing of the show. Mm-hmm. This show it lets the characters breathe and moments breathe, and they were just so beautiful. Yeah. And it was wall to wall of a different kind of K-drama.
Yeah. Like, I even knew what was going to happen. Like, I've watched the show. I have rewatched it at least once. I went and watched it again. And I now watch it, like, if I just need something to just, I'm just in a slump or whatever, I go and I watch it. And I still found myself, like, towards the end, like, tearing up over certain moments that I'm like, you knew it was coming. You knew that this was going to happen. And I'd seen it before, but it's still the way the pacing was and the way the structure was. Performances were amazing. But this topic is about first love. So before we dive into all of the little nitty gritty of how amazing the show was overall, like, this was like the most epic first love in the history of, like, this was
interesting choice for a first love show, right? Because I'm thinking about, other first love shows that we may have watched. Some of it, a challenge to the first love relationship could be, I don't know, maybe your family doesn't approve. Right. Maybe there's a difference in social standing. Yeah. The rich guy and the poor girl.
No, not
maybe
this one.
It's just the awkwardness of figuring it out, or societal pressure says, no, you shouldn't be together for whatever reason.
Right. No.
Let's try it. How about we notch that up? Couple thousand notches.
It was, and that was the thing I loved about the show. Like, not only did it ratchet up like a bajillion notches, and we said this when we first started talking about the show, the way they laid it out for those first 4 or so episodes with
because it was all in the past.
Because it was all in the past, but then they time jumped us not once, not twice, but I want to say like three times when they did that. Mm-hmm. So like we got him when he was in the academy, and then we flashed back to when they were kids. And then we got him when he was like after at graduation, and we flashed back to when they were older kids. And then we got another flash forward, and I felt that the groundwork that they laid for that relationship and all of the relationships was just so well done that by the time you got to the real juicy stuff, you were so attached and so just so invested in those characters.
So if you haven't seen this show, what we're dancing around and what we haven't mentioned is that there is fate.
Yeah, so much fate.
But the father who tore our 2 young lovers apart was a serial killer. And he killed the girl, Nakwon's parents.
Yes.
Because she was getting close to his son.
And she made him weak.
She made him weak, quote unquote.
Yes.
Yes. So very dark.
Very, very dark.
Could you get darker?
I really am hoping you've watched it before you listen to this, but if this is intriguing you, go watch it. Yes, for sure. But I think we just, that's kind of a giveaway right out of the gate. So I guess we didn't spoil too much. There's no big spoiler
that is
there.
within the first 2 episodes,
But it was so well done. It was so well done. And then you got the mom, who was played by, I guess we should probably mention who played these characters. We've got Jang Ki-won, which is Jang Ki-young, which this is his first leading role.
Oh my gosh.
This was his first leading role, right?
Yeah.
And he was just so dynamic and just so good. And the kid who played him as a young one is Nam da-reum, who basically is the younger version of almost everybody in K-drama land. We know you've seen him a million times, but the 2 kids who played the younger versions of them. So Nam da-reum and Ru Hyun-bi.
They were outstanding.
Really well done. Because a lot of times when a show starts in a high school, I'm like, can we get through this? Like, what are the major plot points that you're trying to establish here? And then let's get to the actual stars of the show. But it was worth every second. And I do love all the flashbacks that happened. And then in the final episode, how it all wrapped up with the teenage selves being there, because they're really great actors. And it was...
Yeah, and then we have to mention Jin Ki-ju, who played Han... What was her name? Han Jae-yi.
That was her
stage name, because she had to use the stage name. Nakwon.
Oh, she changed.
And then also...
Kim Kyung-nam. I loved him. He was
played the psycho brother who just needed love.
He was like the stray puppy.
Yes,
he wanted to be a psychopath, but he just couldn't do it.
He needed.
It was not in his nature.
No, but then of course our favorite Ajuma.
Oh God, she was so good.
So Jung-yeon.
Yes, she was quite possibly one of the greatest K-drama moms I've ever watched. Yep. She was just the scene when she sees I keep looking at his name from the Namu, thank you. I'm looking at the wrong name. Namu, when she finds him at the police station after everything that went down, and he basically is like, just take me back to the shelter, and she's like, no, come home with me. And that scene was so beautiful and so well done. I cried every time. Every time I see that scene, I cry.
Because she's not his birth mother.
Yes.
She's his
she's not
stepmother.
Either of the 2 boys. And they're half brothers.
Yeah.
So the idea of first love is really not just between our lead couple.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you broaden that out, it's really about choosing your family and who you love. And so it's really it's beautiful against this backdrop of serial killer, stalking, violence.
And also insurmountable circumstances. I mean, actually, one of the challenges this couple did face in having a love relationship as adults later was societal pressure. Because the media was just...
it was brutal.
Well, also, you've got a history of the concept of collective punishment, which is that your family still and your descendants still pay for your crimes.
Yeah.
So people could not let go of the son, of Jang Ki-young, that he needed to also pay for his father's crimes.
Which he was attempting to do so by becoming a police officer,
right.
And serving society. And he even ran into,
so
shaming for that.
The person that was also getting in the way was our reporter.
Oh my gosh.
She is one of the most, she is like evil incarnate. She was fantastic. Oh my God, she was so good at being so bad. Oh my God, she's crazy. Let me just look at the picture that they posted of her. She's just like, I will crush you.
Kim So-hyung. So it was really surprising that they killed her off pretty early.
Right, like I want to say like right at the midpoint or even before the midpoint.
It was, I think, having just finished the binge this past week, I think it was just at the midpoint or slightly after.
Yeah,
okay. You are right there. Yep.
Because usually that person who is, needling everyone, the instigator, like hangs on to the very last frame.
And then they're finally crushed.
Nope.
She was She was simply like a catalyst for a whole different second half of the show almost. Like her death was. It was fascinating to me.
And well, it was interesting to see how it drove choices in our two, in our main couple, and then everyone else around them.
Yeah.
The decisions they made in reaction to what she was, putting out into the press and that the public at large was taking as truth,
right?
Whether it was or not.
Yeah.
And
she was. Very rarely am I like, oh, she totally deserved it. But she was one of those women where I was just like, I feel bad that I'm kind of happy you're gone. But holy cow, you were
totally deserved
like some sort of kickback for what you have done and what you've perpetrated.
The emotional manipulations.
Being the writer of helping him write his the murderer's autobiography.
Making him a celebrity.
Yeah, making him a celebrity. Yeah. And he was brilliant too. Hyo Jun-ho. He was so good at being like...
when I first started watching the show, which is after both of you had watched it all and raved about it, I'm like, I should tune in. I got maybe, 6 or 8 episodes. And I'm just like, I'm scared.
Yeah, he was terrifying.
He still is, because every time I see him on another show, I'm like,
it doesn't
right. It's like, he's a good guy. Okay, I can breathe. Okay, good.
It's like, are we sure? Are we sure? I don't know.
Are we sure? Yeah, are we sure he's a good guy? We're hanging on until episode 16. He's still a good guy.
He's still a good guy. Okay.
He's in Kingdom, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He actually was in The Player. He was the father of Sung Hyun's, she was his dad, and he died a horrible death. But as soon as I saw him, I was like, "Oh, he's a bad guy." Oh wait, no, he just got thrown out of a building. Nope, he's a good guy. All right, okay, got it.
No, he's the victim. This time.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, copy that. It was hilarious.
But I mean, what can easily throw you off in your future watching of this actor in a show is this, because he had that charm of us. Like, I mean, when he would smile and flirt, and it was just, oh my god, I was skin crawl.
I don't know if it's because I'm of a certain age, but when he would walk around just his baseball cap and his t-shirt and his jeans, I'm like,
he's a very fit man.
He's a very fit man. I'm like, you're.
Well, the reporter kept saying, for a good-looking man, you're a good-looking man.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I was
he's the Ted Bundy.
He really was like the Ted Bundy of Korea. It was crazy. It was nuts. Yeah.
A fictional character.
Of course. I mean, that's the picture they have on him on Asian Wiki is his profile picture. It's totally age appropriate. Totally age appropriate, for sure. But yeah, I really enjoyed the fact that our main couple, we saw the groundwork laid. We understood the problem with it, and we also saw them. We got all those big noble idiocy breakups in the first 6 episodes. Yeah. So when they did finally get together, they actually were like, are we sure? Like, we know what we're doing. Like, there was none of that weird noble idiocy after the fact.
Right.
Like, their big thing for each of them was just don't disappear. Like, talk to me if it starts to get bad. Like that.
Tell me what's going on and don't run away.
Yeah. And so I think maybe that's what it was about it that was so satisfying for me, is that I never was worried that noble idiocy was going to kick in, because we already had not noble idiocy, but just, they knew they couldn't be together at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because of circumstances. Then when they reconnected and they went on their one date.
That date.
Oh, jeez. Oh, it was so...
When they started the date and they were in the car and she's just staring at him and he's getting all nervous and blushy, and then she asked if he had a girlfriend and there's a spit take. I'm like, all right, suspension of disbelief. Yeah. Like, a man that good looking and that tall has never had a girlfriend.
I know, but
he was a girlfriend. She was the one for him. And not to mention
he was a social outcast.
Yeah, that's true. My father killed all these people. Yeah.
No, and I also appreciated that his coworkers, the one young girl that he helped train, there never became a weird 3. It never became a triangle. She knew.
Yeah.
And so I appreciated that he did have that core group of people that did support him and knew how hard he worked and knew what a good person he was. And I really enjoyed that.
And the detective at work who became like a father figure to him.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing. As a K-drama fan, you're kind of expecting these tropes. And when you see things like cherry blossoms and, then you start wondering where that, which ones they're going to embrace and which ones they're going to push aside. And so it's always a relief when there is not a triangle that's that's frustrating sometimes because it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel authentic. It's just in there because it's always in there.
Because it's a story.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't fit in the story at all.
Not at all.
There were so many other stories.
Yeah.
And what I think is really amazing about all of this is that it's an NBC show. And I think this was one of the first, like...
So that's network.
One of the first network shows, not the first, but I mean one of the more recent network shows that had a whole different vibe. This struck me as more of an OCN-ish show.
I thought it was.
Story-wise. I mean, there was definitely the romance that is not a horribly OCN idea, but the kind of theme of the serial killer and, you know, being ostracized and having to put all that dark stuff seemed much more OCN. And so it was really interesting to see this show take a network show take things in the directions that it took it. And so I really enjoyed that because that was interesting to me.
Because I looked up the director and the writer, and I'm not... Well, first of all, the writer, this was their first...
No, shut up,
according
really?
to Asian Wiki, they did a drama special in
Wow.
2013, and then Come and Hug Me. So, you know, we don't know what other shows
They might have
this
been
person
assisting
worked on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it just, I remember talking about this, that it was pretty much a somewhat unknown director and a somewhat or definitely unknown writer that they could come out with something. This was an underdog of a show.
Absolutely, yeah. And the writing was just so tight. Like, you could tell based on the way they did the flashbacks and the way they progressed their story that this writer knew exactly where they wanted this story to go.
From A to Z.
And it wasn't a situation where you didn't feel like the wheels falling off the cart towards the end. Like you
didn't feel there was a sudden turn or something shifted, and you're like, where did that storyline come from?
Well, and even with the ending with Nakana, when she finally gets abducted, I make it sound like she was we all knew she eventually was being abducted. You knew something was happening.
She would be in peril at some point.
So when she gets abducted and she is... And I appreciate that because even on my rewatch, the most recent one, I was kind of like, she really is constantly like, I'm okay, I'm fine, everything's fine, nothing's wrong. And
she's always putting on a bright, sunny disposition.
Yeah. And so you knew that there was going to come a time when she either broke or something happened. And so for me, I really rewatching it, enjoyed watching her take all that power back from the guy who basically destroyed her life. It's almost that idea of things we think about are more terrifying than things right in front of us. And so to watch her kind of take all that power back and watching Namu do the exact same thing where he was going to kill him and then he realized that doesn't serve anything or anybody. And so he stops and he realizes how he's being manipulated. And it was I just really enjoyed that whole, you could just watch them thinking through it, and the fact that they were together to do that together, and how he protected her in the beginning, and then I liked the mirror image of that,
how their first love relationship got them to that point.
Yeah,
it wrapped up in the most satisfying way because it wasn't just one scene and then done. Like every character, you went back to them a couple times and really just gave them all a wrap up that was fulfilling and just really served the story. It was really, really well done. Because sometimes, you know, dramas plod along and then boom, it's not until the last 15 minutes or, you know, you're just like, what happened to that show?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Deus Ex Machina,
right?
Like how many times
your lead just disappears for the last 30 minutes of the show and shows up for a final silhouette. What?
I know. How many times are we disappointed in the final episode? This one was just so well done.
It was just so satisfying. When each of them met their younger selves and gave them a hug and kind of, you know, let them know that everything was okay. Oh, it's so beautiful. I cried.
It was so good. Because I was just also looking at what else was on at that time. Because About Time was the other, like, huge stars, right? And we had such huge expectations for it. Lee Sung-yoon. We had such huge expectations for it. And also the Namgoon Min, this says handsome guy, but what was that called?
Oh, the Undateables.
The Undateables. And those were the ones that we were banking on.
Right?
And it was like, not so much. And then Come and Hug Me was the one that was just satisfying. 100%.
100%.
I really loved there's a lot of a repeating theme throughout the show was salvation.
Yeah.
And I love how they were each other's salvation, really.
Right.
In the end. I mean, she from the get-go, because the night of the night that his father killed her parents, and he's out by the side of the road, traumatized, and she stopped
all alone because sure,
you know, it was a crazy night. So she stops, and she says, she's like, "You need to stay alive."
Right.
And basically, she's like, "It's not your fault."
Right.
And she's telling him from day one. This
So
is not your
mature
fault.
for a 16-year-old.
Right.
Really?
That is one thing
These
that always,
two were definitely destined to be together.
That is one thing that cracks me up
obstacles.
in almost every K-drama. It's like, even like a 5-year-old just has more wisdom in its little body than I do. I'm like, wow, I'm my age and I barely understand what you're saying. Well done, youngster. It's like, wow, okay.
Oh, my
But yeah,
goodness.
no, but exactly, that's what it was. And then even with the stepmom, Cheoki, she was the salvation of the one stepson, and he was her salvation in that moment. Like the mirroring of that salvation and saving and stepping up and being there for people, like that was, I just thought that was it was just so well done without being cheesy or overdone or.
There were a number of scenes where they just stood by, were there for each other. The courtroom scene with the brother at the end,
so much.
where the mother and sister do the deep bow to the victim family, and then also when the serial killer dad is hauled off and he looks on the bus and he looks over, and the family like. Chang Ki-young and his sister and his stepmother are just so like holding each other tight,
right?
Yeah.
And they're
they're a unit,
yes,
and you can't. No matter what you do, you can't break up, which I thought was so.
There was a lot of show not tell in this story, meaning that it wasn't. It wasn't characters telling each other about something that happened. Like you could see it, and oftentimes there was no dialogue, but the visuals were so strong. Yeah.
Well, even when our couple finally gets together and he rings the doorbell, it was kind of the same thing. Like she was racing, she was like walking to the door to go after him, and he rings the bell, and it was just that moment where they see each other, and like it was that.
And they're like, forget what everyone else says. Let's do this.
It was. I mean, you had to say a few words, but it still was visually. It was so compelling.
That hospital scene when she
So there's so many hospitals.
Wait a second. The one after the award show where she's in that red dress and she's sleeping and he's been stabbed in the gut, and I guess they just don't really take care of you that quickly.
No.
Well, he kept downplaying it. He's like, there's somebody else, another officer who got hurt more than I did. I'm like, not really.
I don't know. I mean, the nurses laid him out. Like he passed out and they laid him out on this bed with his bloody shirt, and yet they still haven't taken care of him, but he pulls the drapes and he sees her, and then he just settles back in and just this overhead shot of just, again, the show breathed. There's no dialogue, but just look like his sigh and just looking at her. It was so beautifully done.
Well, and they did the again with repeating things, like she was his paradise is what they kept how it was translated. And so you could see that all the time, every time, like in the hospital scene. And then when he was keeping an eye on her and she was laying in bed and he sat next to her, and it was
to be the protector.
And it was, but you could also tell that whatever all the anxiety or the chatter that's always in his brain, you could see that kind of shut down when he was around her or in those quiet moments. And it was something you could see and feel. He didn't have to explain it to her. Like you just, by watching them act through it,
his face went back to that 16, 17-year-old every single time.
Those two.
Those two actors
who played, they, I don't know what mirroring exercises they did as actors, but they were on the same, living on the same plane.
Yeah. They must have hung out with each other.
They had to, because you could see, I believed wholeheartedly that those were their younger counterparts, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. It was...
Just some of the facial expressions I would see in the younger one.
The tilt of the head.
Or in that little smile that would start to, like the smile of hope. Do I dare hope? Do I dare dream?
Yeah.
And then when he was older, and he would just look at her, and she would start asking him questions, and he would just kind of like nod.
His nod was the best. Oh my God.
He suddenly became silent and just would nod.
Yeah. He was just so good. Like he was just. Yeah, I thoroughly just enjoyed his performance so much.
And hers too.
I mean, I did enjoy her. I'm just saying, for something about him was just so compelling to me that I I will follow him into any show, really. To any show.
There are a lot of actors who were introduced to me in the show that I'm just like, oh, what else? What else?
Right?
What else? And now there are a couple new shows either just started or coming out where I'll be like, oh, come and hug me. Oh, come and hug me.
Yeah.
I recognize you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're all choosing really great projects. Like Kim Kyung-nam, who played the brother, is in...
He's now in Special
Labor Inspector,
yes,
Mr. Joe.
Yeah.
Oh, and he was in Where Stars Land.
Yeah.
He was one of the security guys.
Yeah, and Chun Ki-young's in Kill It.
Oh, yeah.
And Jin Ki-ju is
She's
about
got a new
to
one
start.
coming, a new one, yeah.
Yes.
And wasn't So Jung-yeon mom? Wasn't
she was
wasn't
great.
she in
She was in Pretty Nuna. And she was also in
What's the one of Lady in Dignity, wasn't she? Didn't she play the
Oh yeah.
the daughter?
And she's about to be in the Jung Hae-in, Son Ye-jin, not Son Ye-jin, Jung Hae-in, Han Ji-min show.
really?
Called Spring Night. Yeah.
Well, she was in the Soji Sub Sung Ye-jin movie.
That's right. She looks
Be with
so
you.
different in
Because she had
that.
hair like down to her elbows and
That's
like
right.
all that, fancy mom.
She was the other mom who was basically telling Soji Sub,
Oh,
I know it's hard to be a single dad.
How to
but-"
raise this
But-
child. Oh,
Yeah,
right.
that
She
was
had
her.
that cameo. I forgot.
Yeah, Jin Ki-ju, I can't wait for her because she's going to be in a new show with Kim Young-kwang, who I like a lot. And I guess this is a rom-com, The Secret Life of My Secretary.
Oh,
Back to the
sounds
Taylor
nice.
secretary.
But I will say this about her. The reason I really like her, and we saw it in Misty. She was also in Misty. Like that girl's got some sass. And that's what I like about her. Like she was downright just awful in those first couple of episodes of Misty. And then when she became an ally, I loved her so much. And I don't think we saw quite as much I think you saw more of that at the end during the abduction scene and when she was basically telling them all, like, you just don't get it. Like, you are wackadoodle.
the way she took out the new girlfriend nurse.
Yeah.
Nice move with the syringe there.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what she does in The Secret Life of My
surprised me, but I
Secretary.
was like, okay, I can understand how she finally came. Like you said earlier, it's one thing when you're imagining the danger. It's another thing when it's in your face and you're like, and basically everything you have to fight for,
right,
and your love,
right,
yeah.
I mean,
it's like, oh, I don't have time to whimper and hide.
And I did appreciate that about the writing. Like the writing didn't have her cower and be a crying mess, and
that's how she was reacting every other single time,
right? And so I really appreciated that when she came face to face with basically her tormentor of her whole life, she didn't like need to be rescued per se. She basically stood her own ground. Yeah, and I really enjoyed that.
It was love wins. Like she literally covered Chun Ki-young with and showed her back to her tormentor and was like, nope, you're not taking him.
And it was just like you said, it was just so satisfying
because they were worthy of each other that way. It was he wasn't, like you said, he wasn't rescuing her, she wasn't rescuing him. They were each other's.
They were equals and each other's salvation, which was it was so juicy and good. I loved it so much.
This show.
Oh, yeah.
Really satisfying.
It just
first
was
love
so
story.
satisfying as a first love story because you didn't, like you said,
gut-wrenching.
All of those tropes, all of those tropes that you have and we've seen over and over again. It was like they touched on them, but they didn't like. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like
paled in comparison to the foundation of the story.
It really did.
Like, well, when you're faced with your parents being brutally murdered,
right? I mean, I feel like we've seen
other things sort of don't matter.
I feel like we've seen those, and I can't for the life of me come up with an example because I've watched so many; they all start to just jumble together. But I feel like we've seen a lot of those where you're like, "Why are you acting that way? That makes no sense for the story that has been laid out before us."
Yes.
Where I felt like for this show, I was like, "Oh, yeah." Okay.
Or they wait until episode 13 to reveal the traumatic experience that happened when he was 8. You're like, okay, this whole show I've been wondering why he's been acting that way. You could have let us in on that a little earlier.
Yeah.
Whereas come and hug me right out of the gate.
It really was.
Here they are.
I remember when we were watching it live, Jen, you and I were really nervous on how it was going to end.
I know. We were so nervous.
And I remember you went back to the poster and you were like, they're standing under cherry blossoms. I know this is going to be a good ending.
Cherry blossoms win the day.
Yes.
Thank you. Because it was a KDrama. Yes. We were like, at any moment, someone's going to die a horrible death. And I think that's why.
And I
but I was just saying, I think that is why they offed the kind of stepdad character, because we all knew that someone had to die.
I kept writing in my notes at that point. I was like, who's going to die next? Who's after the reporter? I'm like, who's going to die next? I was like, and I was trying to remember back to what you both had shared at that time. I didn't go back and rewatch anything.
Good for you.
But I was like, no, I remember the mom gets attacked. Oh no, does she die? So then, of course, when he comes over, I'm like, don't let him in. What are you doing? Oh my God, why are you not screaming and calling the police? I'm like,
I remember when we saw that, and it was the stepdad character who was there he is, Jung In-gi. His character when he got killed, and then like I want to say at the very next episode. Bad guy shows up in front of mom, and I was like, "There's no way you're doing a 1-2 punch on this. There is no way."
Oh, and then the older son shows up. I'm like, "What?" I was shaking my head. I'm like, "Oh no!" He's gonna pick him off one by one. It's only gonna be our lead couple at the end. I'm gonna be so upset.
And that would not have been outside of the realm of possibility in a KDrama. So it was terrifying, and I was so happy when but that same kind of mirroring that we talked about, where mom defends the son.
Mom's like, I'm not giving up on my love for you.
Yeah, and vice versa. Like we get that where everyone's protecting each other from Crazy Pants McGee. Like I just
he's affectionately known in the show.
But I just loved that theme so much, so much that I love this show so much.
This show is so good. Really one of our favorites.
Oh,
of all time.
Of all time. Like it's just I probably rewatch it again.
After those attacks and they're in the hospital, I had to calm my inner snark down. I'm like, okay, listen, you were so upset they were both gonna die and now they're both alive. Don't you start crying how they recover so fast.
Right, exactly.
I'm like, stop it.
Yeah,
stop it
just
now.
Stop.
You got what you wanted overall in the story.
Exactly.
Stop nitpicking.
They had the little brain wrap on their brain.
She had a brain wrap, even though her hair looked perfect.
Exactly. Yeah, I was willing to let that one slide. I was just happy everyone was alive.
He was in the hospital for a lot longer.
He was in intensive care, Karen.
Okay, fine, I'll let it slide. Because they lived.
They did. Oh, and I really did. We haven't even spoken about at all is the brother.
The older brother?
The older brother, yes.
Oh, her brother.
Her brother. Her adopted brother.
Oh, like talk about like that. His story alone should have been a K-drama.
His story could have been a story leading into the story. Because
so the actor is Yoon Jung-hoon playing Muwon.
Yeah. I really liked him.
Yes.
I had I completely forgotten that he was adopted until it hit that point.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, that's right.
And I enjoyed the growth of character between him and Kim Kyung-nam's character.
Yes, two brothers
that both went through kind of the...
No one's really actually blood related to anyone.
But they also had a kind of meeting of the minds where they also helped each other out, which again, it's that whole interwoven without it being... Because sometimes we get interwoven where we're like, oh, good God, of course you know him from, 30 years ago and blah, blah, blah. Of course it's fate. Like, there are some shows that we
because you gave him the triangle kimbap.
Exactly.
Or something ridiculous.
But I really felt the way this was written and the way it was woven together was just so, it had such the touch to it was just so not heavy-handed that it just was so satisfying.
This show.
Right? I mean, that's all I can keep saying is just the show. It's just so well executed.
And what is a first love show supposed to do?
Right.
Fill your heart.
Oh. And there you have it. Seriously, if you want a good first love show and you can get over kind of some of the darker aspects of it.
Yeah.
This, I will say, like on Twitter, like every time it's like, what show do you recommend? Come and hug me. What show do you recommend? Come and hug me. And there have been some people some people on Twitter that they're like, I'm like, you haven't watched it yet? You haven't watched it yet? And then they won't say if they say, oh yeah, I started it. And then I won't hear anything anymore. And then I'll be like, oh, did you not like it? You don't like it? They're like, oh, no, I loved it. I'm like, you need to tell me these things. Otherwise, I need to know. I need to know, people, that you loved it as much as I did. And now I'm seeing, like, Caitlin will be something like, what do you recommend? Come and hug me. I'm like, win. Done.
And I finally watched it, so.
Yeah.
Cannot recommend this show enough.
So thank you so much to our coffee supporters for choosing this show and for supporting us because this content that we do for you. We love it so much. And we hope you're as much of a K-drama addict as we are.
And if you are, you can find all sorts of things that we talk about on our glorious YouTube channel. Until then, we are the K3. I'm Jen.
I'm Karen.
I'm Marisa. Find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as well.
Subscribe to us on YouTube and join the K-drama copy klatch. We'll see you next time.
Bye.